All right, back to question 3 now. David Lakuta's problem. And again, we're going to list everything. So using guess, if you're not using the process, and I will not answer any questions on how to do these problems, you must use guess. So guess stands for givens and unknowns. So the information that's on the problem, the equation that we're going to use, and then we're going to substitute and solve and do all of our algebra. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of space for the algebra. Okay. So what's given and unknown? Well, I know that David Lakuta can start a race in 210 meters. So that's where he started the race. And he can run at a velocity of 6.32 meters per second. If her or his running time of 234 seconds, what is the final distance? So we're going to go ahead and list everything again. Have your handy dandy equation sheet so we know what each of these numbers represent. And you're looking at, he's starting the race at 210 meters. So it's going to be one of these distance, but because you're starting the race, it really tells you right there. Start of the race, 210 meters. So then that is your initial distance. DI is 210 meters. All right. And then the velocity is 632 meters per second. So you know that velocity in meters per second is 632 or 6.32 meters per second is your velocity. If the runtime is T for time, that's in second, 234.04 seconds, what is the final distance? So problems down the page here are actually getting more difficult. This would be for me a level 3 problem, and then this is a level 4 problem. So now that we have everything listed, make sure you know this is X, this is what we're looking for. This is our unknown. I used to put a question mark until students would put question marks on their equations. I don't want question marks, I want you solving for X. Okay, this is the algebra part of physics. Math was actually, calculus was invented to explain the physics of the world. So therefore science, and or at least physics, this science is very heavy on math. So looking at your givens and unknowns, you're looking here. You have DI, V, T, DF. You have V, DF, DI, and T. So that's why you know it's velocity and not the acceleration. You don't even have A. So it's not telling you acceleration anywhere. There's no way you need to use that equation. So writing down my equation again, V equals DF minus the DI all over T. That's my equation. We are going to be giving you grades for these problems, so make sure that you have all of it written down. You won't get credit if you don't. And if you ever need to go back to watching one of these videos, you can pick the video that you need to watch and rewatch it. So here I go with the algebra, and this has been historically the part where students have the most difficulty is to substitute and solve. So follow along step by step. I'm going to use different colors for every single one of the steps so you can follow along. So we're going to replace V with this number, 6.32. So 6.32 equals DF. So that's my X. I don't know that. X minus DI is 210. So here's 210. 210 divided by my time of 234.04 seconds. Okay? And how do I solve for X? That is the question. So step number 1 is get rid of anything at the bottom of the fraction. Remember, bottom of a fraction means you are dividing. You are sharing the pizza. You're sharing a cake with multiple people. Therefore, you only get a fraction of the cake. And I keep saying, I think we are all very selfish and don't like to share, and this is why we are really bad at graphs. So getting rid of the whatever's at the bottom of the fraction, which is being divided. So if you're dividing, the opposite of division is multiplying. So multiply the bottom of the fraction to both sides. Times 234.01. And if you divide a number that's on the top of the fraction to the bottom of the fraction, these become a 1 and they cancel out. So don't forget, becoming a 1 cancels out. 0 times something is a 0. That means you have nothing. Here, we're canceling out and making them 1s. And then we multiply the left side of the fraction. So take the calculator, type in 234.01. And you should be doing these problems alongside with me. 632. So now we have 1,478.94 equals x minus 210. All right, what do I do next? Well, this one's pretty simple. I have a minus 210. So the opposite of subtraction is addition. You add 210 to both sides. That will get this to 0. And 1,478.94 plus 210 is 1,688.94 equals x. And x was my final distance. So df equals 1,688.94 meters. Now I have my answer.